It took me a while before I decided to actually cover this story with regards to a 15-year-old boy that was supposed to go to the Ballito Mall, place an explosive device there. The device fails to detonate properly, only smoke, according to the story, emits from it. And this 15-year-old that had apparently planned to wait outside for people to flee the food court of the mall and then start shooting people left, right, and center. There are many red flags with regards to the story. And the reason why I need to talk about this is because BizNews decided to do an interview with Willem Els on this, with Chris Steyn, and they treat it as if everything is just true, that all the information being handed out is true. And this is what I have a problem with. Not the fact that Chris Els questions how people treated the situation and so on, but that both the interviewer and the person being interviewed makes as if all the information that has come through up until now as if it's true. And the first thing I have to say is I have zero evidence that any of this information is true, that this teenager even exists. We have nothing, absolutely nothing. And it's easy to say within intelligence that, but this needs to be kept quiet, it's a sensitive situation, and all sorts of things like that. And I call BS on all of it. And until I see credible proof, actual evidence, video footage, etc., it's just a story. It's nothing more. And the fact that people like on BizNews would go and do an interview as if this is real is shocking. And I'll tell you why. So when The Witness ran an article on this where they say teens alleged manifesto reveals Ballito Mall bomb plot. Alleged manifesto. Correct words to use. Okay? And then in The Citizen or the North Coast Courier, Ballito's Mall bomb. Teens manifesto reveals alleged plan behind failed attack. Okay? So where's the manifesto? I haven't seen the manifesto. So just hearing this raises red flags immediately. I'll tell you later what those red flags are. But, you know, the headline in BizNews, and I have to criticize it, says how horrific this attack would have been, when it could all just be a made-up story. And I'll cover the detail of that later. So I went to find all the information that is available on the story, and it's basically a leak. When something gets leaked like that, it's done intentionally, and it's done for two reasons. One is that they want to create a cover for an undercover agent to infiltrate a terrorist cell or some kind of cell of interest, group of interest, and the person works for counterterrorism intelligence or some intelligence body. And they are being given an alibi through this whole bullshit story that's playing out here. That's the one thing. The other thing that could be happening here is that something is created to instill fear in an area, see how the people respond based on the news leak, and then use that to allow for people to be willing to allow more mass surveillance. Because this is what it will boil down to. And we will see if the push is for mass surveillance immediately, especially with regards to social media, and I will explain to you now why that is important in this case. Then you will see how this could completely be a red flag incident, which I red flag, and people call it false flags, that's created absolutely for one simple reason: public fear, so that the public allow more of their freedoms to be removed. So to me, it's a red flag, many red flags that stand out, and I'll give you a link to both of these articles in the description below this video. But I spent some time basically uncovering all the problems with the story. So the basic story is this: that a teenager wrote some hectic manifesto, was interested in all these gore groups online. So this is a narrative being created, and that he was interested in causing a mass casualty event, just like in the US, that he was impressed by mass killers in the past, and that because of these Gore groups that he was on, the ones called 764, etc., he was interested in actually creating a mass casualty event by placing a bomb. They would explode, the people would fear the explosion, run out of the venue, and he'd be waiting with guns and knives, shooting at them and stabbing them, basically. And apparently the Hawks got involved, and this info was leaked to someone at a newspaper. And when this happens, you need to absolutely know that my first option is the most likely. Okay, so I don't want to talk more about that because I don't want to compromise someone being placed somewhere. But if that's the intent, it was done in the most insanely stupid way, because the way it reaches the media, the way people understand things these days, you can't come up with crap like this. You know, in the past, you could put a front page in the Report or the Burger, a completely fake story to give someone credibility so that they can infiltrate terrorist cells. But today, you can't do things like this in this way anymore because it's just too much information available. So, in the witness, it speaks here of he allegedly placed an improvised explosive device in the mall's busy food court on Sunday, March 29th. So, this is the other thing. According to this, it happened on March 29th, and then we got a tip-off via the FBI much later that this had taken place by someone in one of these Gore groups actually tipping off the FBI. So this is quite an elaborate story. Okay. A 15-year-old boy accused of attempting to bomb Belito Junction Regional Mall allegedly detailed these plans in a Telegram manifesto shared shortly before the incident, revealing disturbing claims about his motives and inspirations. The teenager from Zimbabwe cannot be identified because he is a minor. But they say he's from Zimbabwe. I mean, are you bedonderd? That narrows it down a lot. He allegedly placed an improvised explosive device in the mall's busy food court on Sunday. This is all pure speculation. March the 29th. The device emitted smoke but failed to detonate. Very convenient. Reportedly because of a construction fault. Huh? Who is the expert in knowing there is a construction fault with this bomb? They didn't call the bomb squad or anything. This boy hasn't been charged. All the details around this are so sketchy. It's unbelievable. Preventing what could have been a deadly attack. There is nothing here at this stage. According to a manifesto obtained by the North Coast Courier journalist Jacqueline Herbst, the person everything was leaked to, the teenager allegedly outlined his intention to bomb the shopping center, praised notorious mass killers, and claimed he was inspired by the Columbine school shooters and the TikTok-based True Crime Community, TCC. In the document, he portrayed himself as a victim of years of trauma, bullying, and isolation. So a very beautiful cover that can be created for someone. He alleges he was subject to persistent bullying, online extortion, and doxing, while also claiming he suffered abuse by his father and neglected by his mother. He further claims these experiences led him into extremist online communities, which he described as the only people who have understood me. This sounds like textbook placement of an agent. Okay, let me continue. The manifesto also alleges that in 2024, he chased a fellow pupil with a knife after repeated requests to his mother to remove him from school were ignored, resulting in his expulsion. Now, intelligence will often bring in troubled people like this and use them as agents because they already have an excellent background. This is normal. This is not abnormal. Okay. Then he further claims that on March 4th, this is now according to this manifesto that he wrote, that he pepper sprayed several people of another shopping center in Belito. I mean, really? The manifesto ends with a teenager expressing an intention to carry out a mass casualty attack before taking his own life. So in this case, his so-called bomb doesn't detonate. The people don't run out of the mall, so he flees. Come on, if you have psyched yourself up to go and do something like this, you will just go into the next mode and you will just start shooting people, especially if you don't care about your life. Okay, so then they have an editor's note here. The story contains references to violence and suicide. and telling people that feel emotional that they can contact some kind of a lifeline, 0861 322 322. So if any of you feel emotional about this, there's a number you can contact. But the link for this is in the description below. Now, where the actual story was run, the North Coast Courier. Belito Mall bomb teens manifesto reveals alleged plan behind failed attack. And then they quote him, "You will all pay for what you did to me," manifesto of a 16-year-old Zimbabwe resident. Now, if this is real, okay, there's still many unusual things here, and you will see now why they are very unusual. But if you understand what happened here, none of it makes sense. Because what the police did, what the mall did, there is no charge against this boy currently. None. They take the explosive device afterwards, which the security deals with, not a bomb squad. Can you believe this? To the boy's mother. They take it back to his mother. It's like you put a bloody smoke machine in a freaking box that was hot and it just puffed out some smoke. You actually get smoke machines that work on batteries. But in any case, so let's continue. A teenager's alleged Telegram manifesto has revealed chilling new details about a failed bomb attack at Belito Junction Regional Mall, as if it's fact, where an improvised explosive device emitted smoke instead of detonating. The big thing here is not just what took place, but the fact that 3 months later, on July 1st, the teenager was allegedly seen back at the mall after he was arrested originally, which doesn't make sense, which means he was released. He was apparently put in a psychiatric hospital for a period of time, and then he's out and about again. None of this makes sense. Shortly before the incident, the teenager allegedly shared a graphic manifesto on Telegram obtained by the Courier. In it, he outlines an alleged plan. So it was leaked to the Courier, okay? Alleged plan to bomb the shopping mall glorifies mass killers and describes how the legacy of the Columbine school shooters and the TikTok-based true crime community inspired his violent quest for revenge because of all the bad things that happened to him. In the manifesto, the teenager portrays himself as the product of years of trauma and isolation. Now, this is the case with many kids. They don't go on to cause a situation like this. He alleges he endured relentless bullying, online extortion, and doxing. This happens to a lot of kids. He claims his experiences drew him into extremist online communities whose members he describes as the only people to have understood me, just as the previous article covered. It also alleged that he chased a fellow pupil with a knife, and then he was basically kicked out of school after that. The Courier has chosen not to publish details describing the construction of the explosive device or the planned sequence of violence in the interest of public safety. Now, the fact that all this was leaked to them is a red flag immediately, because it's trying to create credibility for this person, and that's how I see it. That this is an alibi for this person, for them to be integrated into some terrorist cell somewhere, and they're actually working for intelligence. Probably not even 15 years old. Well, they can actually replace a real 15-year-old with someone else that claims to be that person. The manifesto ends with a teenager expressing an intention to carry out a mass casualty attack and then take his own life. And that is important. A source within the Justice, Crime Prevention and Security cluster alleged that Umhlali police returned a failed explosive device to the teenager's mother and initially refused to register a criminal case. Huh? According to the source, a case was only opened on April 2nd after the Hawks intervened following an alert from the FBI, as I mentioned earlier, that someone from one of these Gore groups actually contacted the FBI and said that this boy placed this manifesto there and that he was going to do something. And then allegedly they then backtracked and found out that he had already tried to do this. That's the story. Rather than being arrested at the scene, the 15-year-old was admitted to Town Hill Hospital, a specialized psychiatric facility in Pietermaritzburg. 3 months later, on July 1st, a teenager was allegedly seen back at the mall. He was subsequently arrested on Friday, July the 3rd, and was released on Monday from the Kwadukuza Regional Court, where the matter was not enrolled. Intelligence, people. The Courier asks SAPS when officers were first notified of the attempted bombing, when a criminal docket was opened, whether the device was entered into the SAP-13 evidence register and examined by bomb disposal experts. I mean, if you discover a package, you evacuate the people, you don't go near it. Mall security, why would they do anything with a package? Whether the Hawks were notified and whether investigators were considering charges under the Protection of Constitutional Democracy Against Terrorism and Related Activities, or the POC Datara Act. Ilembe District Police spokesperson Priya Nunkumar responded. Police attended the complaint immediately and a case was opened. The alleged explosive device, this is quoting them. So it wasn't an explosive device. Was seized by the police at the scene. The case was investigated by Umhlali detectives and the 50-year-old suspect was arrested. If successfully prosecuted under the POC Datara, the alleged conduct could amount to terrorism-related offences separately. The Criminal Law Amendments Act prescribes a minimum sentence of 15 years imprisonment in certain circumstances involving explosive devices. And it didn't even explode. I mean, just saying that you have a bomb could get you locked up for 15 years. Even if you have something that is fake, it doesn't matter. You don't do things like that. The case also attracted international attention after an overseas member of the Telegram group allegedly alerted the FBI to the teenagers' planned attack. By the time the warning reached South African authorities, however, the attack attempt had already taken place. It was done. Ballito Junction Mall management confirmed the security personnel noticed smoke coming from an unattended bag in the food court and immediately activated emergency procedures. The bag was moved to a place of safety and the teenager apprehended before Umhlali SAPS took control of the scene. So, who removed the device? If it's not the freaking bomb squad. This is absolutely insane. Mall management said the safety of shoppers and staff remains its highest priority and that the security measures are continually reviewed and strengthened in response to emerging threats and crime trends. There was no one in the crowd that took any footage of a smoking box anywhere. No one that said they were evacuated. Nothing. This is just a story. Repeated attempts by the courier to obtain comment from the teenager's mother was unsuccessful. Or the mall for that matter. So people, what I see here is a story being exploded when there's nothing. I would normally leave something like this. I wouldn't even talk about it because many things like this I receive, I look at it and I see, okay, there's nothing here. This is intelligence driven. In this case, these people blowing it up as if it's real without the evidence. So I'm not saying it's not real. Based on everything I see right now, this is an intelligence operation to create a cover for somebody. I might be wrong about that, but I have not seen evidence that will make me think that any of this is valid. Any of it. And you can tell me in the comments what you think. Whether more information has come out anywhere, whether any of you have seen any other evidence. But up until now, all of this is just one big smokescreen. So the big things that you need to look out for is that there's a chemical and material gap. Okay, and this I got from literally talking to Gemini about this case and exactly what happened, all the info available at the moment. So there's no viability report saying that this IED device could actually explode. And even the police said so-called explosive device, okay? The contamination paradox, because local police allegedly handed the smoking device back to the suspect's mother, the physical chain of custody was completely shattered. Now, they're not going to hand it back if they think it's an explosive device. So it's not an explosive device. If this even happened. The ballistic and arsenal gap. No ballistic testing certifications. Ammunition disconnect. A planned mass casualty attack requires significant magazine capacity and ammunition reserves. So this boy had weapons with him. Okay? These are the claims. He had knives with him. So it's not like they don't claim that he had things with him that could kill people. They do claim that he had weapons, knives, etc., guns with him, with ammunition. Okay, to do that. That's the claim. Whether it's true or not is a very different situation. So the ammunition disconnect, a planned mass casualty attack requires significant magazine capacity and ammunition reserves. The public reports failed to quantify the volume or caliber of the ammunition seized. The digital and signal trace gap, the ghost telegram channel. The state's primary trigger for the entire investigation is a digital manifesto posted to Telegram. In a real digital forensic probe, investigators must produce a specific metadata, including IP logs, MAC addresses, and IMEI numbers, providing the text file was actually authored and uploaded by the specific device seized from that specific miner, rather than being spoofed or injected externally. There is nothing here. VPN and routing anomaly, the spatial and visual footprint gap, the CCTV blackout. There's no CCTV footage. Modern regional shopping centers like Ballito Junction operate on high-density overlapping IP camera networks. To prove physical staging, there must be continuous video tracking showing the suspect entering the property, carrying the specific payload container, deploying it in the food court, and exiting the premises. The complete withholding of even a single verified video still creates a total visual gap. So if they provide evidence, then we can say, okay, someone walked in with a box and placed it there. Doesn't mean it's a bomb at all. So there's too many gaps here. Zero environmental blast residuals. Even a device that merely smokes or experiences a partial reaction leaves behind distinct chemical footprint signatures on the immediate environment. So, people, the fact that people mention the FBI, just mention them, whether they were involved or not, this could all be made up, makes people believe that it's accurate. The fact that Biz News would run with something like this will make people think it's accurate. If you look at the comments, they will think it's accurate. When it could be utter baloney. I mean, I call BS on this at the moment, like completely, until there's more evidence. And if we have more evidence, then we can look at that evidence and see, what does this mean? At this stage, we don't have that evidence, and evidence brings you closer to the truth. So the practical impossibility of the logic, the narrative they are accepting creates an impossible tactical contradiction. This is with regards to the Biz News interview. The narrative, they believe a radicalized, highly volatile miner built a chemical weapon, took it to a public mall to kill hundreds of people, failed, went home, and then safely left alone with a weapon by local police before returning to loiter at the exact same mall months later. The reality, no operational counter-terrorism unit on earth behaves this way, by focusing entirely on why the police must handle the device, else in the media missed the glaringly obvious conclusion the police response was non-existent because there was no real physical threat to respond to. Which is the conclusion I gave you guys earlier. It's obvious that they did not think that this is a real explosive device, and that it was obvious that it wasn't. And then the circular reporting and echo chambers, this is just the same narrative over and over, a narrative that people are familiar with, using names, throwing out names like the FBI, the Hawks, and so on, that a lot of people trust. I don't trust them. I don't trust them at all. I look at the evidence on the ground, and here you will get my perspective on how I see things. And I can be wrong. I base it on the evidence that I see. At the moment, there is no evidence to prove to me that any of this took place at all. It could be complete fabrication to have a story to put a deep undercover agent into a network of terrorists. I really want to thank you for watching this video. If you want more content like this, then subscribe to this channel. Click on that bell icon. And do consider becoming a member, supporting the work that we do on the ground. I will be bringing you more videos very soon. And just remember one simple thing. Most of the time, nothing is what it seems. When you've been in my shoes, there's very few things that are what it seems. So keep your eyes peeled. Do support many of the presentations that we've done that will help you to give you the tools to find truth, to seek truth, so that you can make better informed decisions and not sound like the people in the comment section on that BizNews story. Thanks so much. Till the next video.